Mitch Marner continues to feel the heat on and off the ice as the Leafs are on the brink of elimination. Hey everyone, welcome to Inside the Leafs. Rob Wong joined alongside by Toronto Sun Maple Leafs writers Lance Hornby and Terry Koshan. And guys, the Maple Leafs finding themselves in a familiar situation, down 3-1 to the Bruins heading into Game 5 on Tuesday night. There's been a lot of finger pointing going around, and one player that's maybe felt it the most has been Mitch Marner. Lance, do you think all the criticism of his play is warranted?
Oh, I think for sure you have to look at the man's playoff record first of all, heading into this series, where it was hoped he would make a difference. Nobody expects him to go through a wall to take on the Bruins' biggest defenseman to be Ryan Reeves essentially. But his forte is scoring, it's offense, it's helping the power play, and despite the fact he had a pretty nice goal in game four, I think he's just not been at either his offensive level really or his compete level, and everything got magnified, of course, by him being a major player and what went down on the bench the other night. And if you're not helping the power play, at the very least, then certainly you can expect a lot of vitriol from the fans and a lot of attention. And the worst thing for him is, again, getting near contract time again. It's all going to reflect badly. And when people talk about maybe a major move to break up the core, suddenly number 16 comes into focus.
Yeah, I think it's warranted for sure. 2 points in 4 games for one of your star players just doesn't cut it, especially when you're down in the series 3-1. You look at other players around the league, guys who have raised their games, if you will, in the playoffs because they're expected to do that. It's the best players do. Connor McDavid and Draisaitl have done it at Edmonton. Cale Makar is another one that's done it in Colorado. We see, in this series itself, Brad Marchand having taken over points-wise and on the ice for the Bruins, doing what he does, and just taking his game to a level that wasn't there in the regular season, and it's what your best players do, and Mitch Marner has not done that, and certainly I think the criticism is warranted. Like Lance said, the offensive talent that he has and the fact that the power play has not been good at all. I mean, you lay that at the feet of one person, well, not necessarily, but if Mitch Marner likes to think of himself as a player who drives the bus, they've been stuck in neutral now for 4 games, and we'll see if that gets any better for Game 5, but certainly you just cannot flip a switch and the production will start flowing. We'd like to have seen it by now, but the fact of the matter is Leafs are still alive, and if they're going to continue on beyond Game 5 Tuesday, Marner's going to have a big role in that.
Well, if the Leafs do want to extend this series, Terry, they obviously have to find some answers here. They haven't found them yet on special teams or 5-on-5 the last couple of games. What do you think head coach Sheldon Keefe has at his disposal to try to keep this thing going?
Well, on the blue line, they're kind of stuck, right, guys? I mean, they brought TJ Brody in the other night to go Timothy Liljegren. It didn't go well for Brody, and the defense score has been an issue all year. We know that, and that's not changing now, no matter who's in the lineup. Up front, there are a couple of things I think he can do. We talk about Mitch Marner and his struggles. We don't know the status yet of Austin Matthews for Game 5, given the illness and everything he's been battling with. But one of the best duos in the league is Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, and I have a lot of respect for what Max Domi's done on the line this year with Matthews. But the fact of the matter is, Leafs are down 3-1 in the series, and they need to get something going here. And that line just hasn't produced like the way you think it should. So Matthews Marner reunion is one to me. Whether you take Bertuzzi off the line, Domi, that's Sheldon Keefe can do what he wants there. I think you have to get 16 and 34 back together. And the other thing up front that I don't think can work, and it's only been 1 game, but we saw it not working really in the regular season, is William Nylander on line with Pontus Holmberg. Nylander needs to have, whether it's, again, Matthews or Tavares, needs isn't the right word, perhaps, because Nylander is such a good player, but I think if we're going to bring out the best in him, it cannot be with a person like Pontus Holmberg, who on most teams really should be the fourth line center, not the third line, and certainly not with the guy with Nylander's talent to his right. So to me, those are 2 line changes Keefe can make, but beyond that, you kind of cross your fingers and hope everything else turns out all right.
Well, it'd be interesting to see at the start of the series if you thought that both Connor Dewar and Noah Gregor would both be out of the lineup at the same time is interesting, because they are the kind of fourth line or third line energy guys you think would really have an effect against in a series against Boston. So perhaps bringing one of those guys in, I know that's going to be a domino effect elsewhere. But to Terry's point, I think the Swedish meatballs line there, for lack of a better term, with Holmberg, Yarncroc, and Willie is not working. You have to try something different as far as that goes, or at least expect them to reward the faith that Sheldon Keefe has had in them. On the blue line, again, it's the whole right-left thing, but I would hate to see Mark Giordano end his NHL career without having one more chance to play. He's maybe at this stage, it's going to be difficult for him to make any kind of difference, and certainly he's had his struggles. There's some nights he looks like he's 40 years old, but then sometimes maybe you need that presence in there. Maybe that's the guy that you could use in there as a veteran, if no, some levity, for lack of a better word, or just somebody who's been there before. To Terry's point, of course, Brodie didn't quite deliver that the other night, but neither had Liljegren. So not a lot of options there for Sheldon.
Well, finally, guys, we saw Joseph Woll get the third period in game number 4. Terry, should we expect him to get the start in game 5, or do you think Ilya Samsonov gets one more shot?
Well, I've kind of gone back and forth in this. I would think it'd be Samsonov, but perhaps it won't be. The one thing with starting Woll is, he wasn't great down the stretch for the Leafs, so need to come back from the high ankle sprain. But, if Sheldon Keefe casts a glance around the NHL, he sees that other goalies have come in and won hockey games. I mean, the Vancouver Canucks have had 3 goalies win games in these playoffs, and, they're up 3-1 in their series in Nashville. So a quote-unquote new goalie can come in and make the difference. I just don't know if you're getting, by putting Woll in tomorrow night, other than making a change for change's sake, how much better the net mining is going to be. Because to my mind, they're not down 3-1 in the series because of Ilya Samsonov. A lot of other things going on in front of him. The Trent Frederick goal the other night stands out a bit, but otherwise, I don't think it's a goaltending issue. But if he turns to Woll, one thing that we know about the kid is that he has a good mental mindset, and I think he'll be prepared for it that way. But we'll have to see here in the next 36 hours or so.
I'm 50-50 on making the change. You know what? Keefe has shown a lot of faith in Samsonov. I think that still the way that Samsonov turned his season around is quite admirable. I'm with Terry that goaltending hasn't been the issue there. But you know what? It's interesting. You have beyond this year, Samsonov's fate is going to be debated endlessly during the summer, and now you have a chance to put your so-called goalie of the future into a big game, an elimination game, and I think you want to see how this kid would perform, especially in Boston, where he went to school. Maybe this isn't the time to be thinking like that, but especially for Sheldon Keefe, who may not even be here next year when Joseph Woll is going to be the goaltender of the future. So an interesting call there, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Woll in there just to do something different. Maybe the Leafs, knowing that he's in that situation, and the way that it finished last year when they put him in that situation in Toronto and they're just overwhelmed by Florida, maybe that's going to be somewhat of a turning point, if not in the series, and certainly to go down fighting for the Maple Leafs.
Well, we'll see what happens in game number 5. As always, leave your thoughts in the comments section below. For Lance Hornby and Terry Koshan, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.